many years, my area of interest has been information assurance. And this actually started with a grant proposal that a colleague and I wrote for the Department of Defense in the USA. And information assurance focuses on three critical things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And if we look at it historically, the primary domain of information assurance started from the military, when there was a requirement from the military that the different levels of information classification and how to stop access or allow access of key people to those information assets. So apart from the military, the banking world is seeing a lot of input in the information assurance arena. And these days, healthcare information arena has also started using information assurance in a big way. Now, I'll focus on banking first and then go to the healthcare arena. Now, in the banking world, a lot of us have bank accounts, we do online transactions, we see transactions maybe even across the globe. And one of the critical issues is how is it possible to protect the information regarding the bank accounts and make sure that there is no identity theft, make sure that privacy is taken care of. And so the banking world has done a lot of important initiatives as far as information assurance is concerned. I'll give you a couple of examples. The face of the banking world is the automated teller machine, ATM. And when you use an ATM, you have to input your data regarding the PIN number. You may have to use a card, an ATM card, to get the information out. And if that information is made available to someone else, they can steal your money. So two critical things with regard to banking information on the ATM is how do you encrypt that information that you key in? How does the bank encrypt the information that is key in? And how does it make sure that people should not steal that information? So several areas where banking industry were first were electronic transactions. And in fact, particular banks like or financial institutions like American Express, and I would also say Visa and MasterCard, they came up with this mechanism of making sure that what we input into the ATM is not stolen. So the mechanism is known as SET, Secure Electronic Transactions, which involve a lot of different areas ranging from mathematics to computer science to law. For instance, the encryption that has to be done, the fundamental parts of the encryption come from mathematics. And computer science, of course, how do you take in those numbers and then transmit it across to a server that contains the information about the banking information. So these are just examples of where information assurance from the banking industry comes in. And then within an organization, there are several other issues that are involved. Financial issues such as whether the security appliances that we buy, are they actually going to give back what we invest in them? So this issue of return on security investment. There's the issue of risk management. There's the issue of understanding where data leakages may happen. And then there are, of course, law issues that come into the picture, particularly with the new laws that are coming in, both at an international level and at a national level, with regard to protection of individual information. That is known as PII, private individual information. So banks, for example, have to be on their toes all the time to make sure that they comply with the laws. And two particular laws that I can immediately think of are Sabins and Oxley, which came into being, I think, in 2003 or 2004, after the Enron and the WorldCom debacle. So what happened was that WorldCom, for instance, were cooking up its accounting books, and ultimately WorldCom went bankrupt, and with it took a lot of people under. And subsequently, the US Congress passed a law called Sabins-Oxley law, which was essentially put up by Paul Sabins and Michael Oxley, one Democrat, one Republican, which mandates that the books should be available publicly for scrutiny. And financial institutions, if they find that there is any leakage, they have to intimate all their customers. So the area of information assurance brings in a multidisciplinary approach, ranging from mathematics to computer science to law to information systems to finance and also accounting practices. And I mention accounting practices because the fundamental checks and balances actually stem from the accounting arena. Information assurance in the realm of healthcare is again something that has come up only in the past few years, I would say 6 to 7 years. And one of the primary laws that made this a very important issue is known as HIPPA, the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, which is now in place and is mandatory in the US. HIPAA essentially says that health information has to be private and it should not be made public. Personal health information should not be made public. And as a result, several checks and balances are now coming into place, particularly with the fact that health records are going digital. And also the fact that there is a lot of interrelationship and interconnectivity between different entities. For example, the doctor and the nurse and the pharmacy. So the pharmacy, when it gives a medicine to a patient, should make sure that the patient does not have any allergies to the medicine. And in order to do so, the pharmacy would have to pull up the information regarding the patient in its database to make sure that no allergies exist. And that information obviously would come from the doctor. So you're essentially moving across boundaries of the health information, the health organization to a pharmacy. And that's where new challenges come in, both technical and managerial, in keeping track of the data and making sure that there are no leakages. So in a number of these cases, law has started driving information assurance challenges, and that's also the reason why you find the chief privacy officer in a lot of health organizations.